And we are live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Thursday Night Football Print Factory show here on Run Pure Sports. I'm, of course, JSU. I'll be hosting this party today. And we got Big T. We got Whistles Go Woo in the house. Today, I got to go to my man Whistles. What's up, buddy? How was your week one of football?
Yeah, it was good. I nabbed 3 tickets to the World Championship already. Yeah, so we're
That's
heading
it? 3? That's
only
awesome.
3. I was
Wow.
1 points away from 4, but that's okay. I'll take 3 week one. A little bit of cash, not that much, but with the 3 tickets, a great week overall. That's
what did you win them on the same team, or when you win 3 like that? Is it 3 separate teams, or how did you win them?
I think 2 of them were the same. One of them was in the classic, just the main classic slate. So I think I had 2 like kind of GPP like ones, and then 1 just high cost.
Well, what's the max this year?
10.
So 30% of the way home, week 1, baby.
3 a week, I'll be done by week 4. So no, just kidding. But for now, it was a good week. How was your week?
It would be nice to just close that puppy out nice and early. You'd save a fortune getting them all early.
For sure.
If I was Whistles and I won 3 in week 1, I might just close it down and say, I'm good with 3 tickets.
Whistles ain't closing nothing down. He's going for that 10-piece for sure.
Oh, he's definitely going for it.
At a time to 10. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you'll get it this week. You get 7 more.
This week, maybe tonight, baby.
2
they don't
available.
offer 10 different qualifiers, I don't think, tonight.
Oh, there's not that many up tonight? Only a couple?
What is it, only 1 or 2 whistles tonight?
There's 1 single entry and 1 like 5 or 6 entry.
Why don't they do more on these showdown slates?
Trust me, I wish they did.
Because they do like a million of them on Sundays, which I get. I mean, they should, but why not run a few more showdown ones?
Yeah. I mean, like they should have 1 like really large one.
Yeah.
1 medium one. But they have
I don't see why they don't run one like a small amount that you could play with your 150. Like in the 15, like run a $5 one tonight to where $20 gets you 150 in all of them. Or both of them.
You chop. So what? There's a runoff. It's perfectly fine.
Right. Runoffs are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing I've ever beat Whistles in was a runoff for a final speed.
We had that.
God, that must have felt good beating
the only time I've ever got the best of them. It felt
I
good.
remember the one time still Whistles told me I had the best team in the World Championship, and then he fucking comes from nowhere and beats me.
Was that when you guys were in the bathroom and you guys were talking
we were
to each other a little bit?
He was on my right. He looked over at me. He said, "JSU, you got a good team going. I trade my team for yours." I'm like, "You son of a bitch." And then he comes from behind and comes in 3rd, I think it was, and I come in like 5th or something like that. I'm like, this motherfucker was talking about trading teams, comes from behind and just beats me. But all right, we got some football to talk here. Obviously, Thursday night football game here. We got Minnesota versus Philly. Philly's at home, 6.5 points. What I'm seeing right now, 6.5, 6. The spread right now, depending on the book you go to. Whistles, just throw it to you here real quick. I know we're going to check out your product, but first look on the game.
Yeah, well, I'm a Vikings fan, which makes it you shouldn't listen to anything I say probably. I'm really always low on Kirk Cousins. Sometimes they're behind. He gets a lot of points, but I don't actually think that'll happen today. I think you're looking for a pretty good Eagles beatdown. At least that's how I see it playing out.
Yeah, Tony, I mean, I kind of see it the same way, but what are you thinking here? Because I know the sharp side is probably the Minnesota side, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Week 1, you saw New England, who had a ton of time to prepare, put up a pretty good fight. They could have even won the game versus Philly. And then you saw Minnesota lay an egg. And also I was trying to look up the date when they played. Wasn't it late in the season last year? So they played – actually, it says September 19th, so almost the same week last year. It might have been literally the same week last year from the looks of it, because it says Philly 2-0, Minnesota 1-1. Totally dominated them last year, and they do have some guys out. That'll be the chatter today as you kind of check all the content and stuff around the industry. Philly's got 3-4 guys out on defense, but Philly's, I'm with you guys. I think it's the Philly show because Kirk Cousins in primetime, I just remember that last year where it was just disaster. And I liked Minnesota last year. I remember we might have even done this show on Monday Night Football last year. Us three. I can't remember, but
May have, yeah.
it makes sense. And it was torture all night. Like I was heavy on Jefferson. I was heavy on Cousins. And I knew it was one of those games. I knew 5 minutes into the game, I had no chance at anything. Like I knew I was drawing dead. So that's where I'm at with you guys.
I mean, I think the Vikings team was probably a bit, I mean, at least on the offensive side, stronger last year. You had Thielen, you also had Cook. You don't have you've now substituted them for Addison or whoever. And, I think it's going to be a little tough for them tonight, but we'll see.
The flip side to the argument, just because I always try to look at it and just tell myself, like, why is the spread this? Last time week 2 was Monday night, so there was a longer gap. Short week, and we talked about it last week on all the content. First 2, 3, 4 weeks of the season is going to play uglier for most teams. So Philly's not totally dialed in. Short week. I mean, they just played Sunday, 3 days. That could be one way this game stays a little bit closer, but just in general, I mean, I'm on the Philly side with you guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the Philly side. I'm heavy on the Philly side. I think they win big tonight. And if you look at Kirk Cousins' record, I think he's 12-20 in primetime games. I think I looked that up. I think he's 12-20.
That's way better than I thought he would have been.
So I'm pretty sure I looked that up. And Sean in the chat says Cousins has won 3 Thursday night football games in a row, but they were all at home. And I think that it plays into it. What I don't understand is these people, I've talked to a lot of people that are on Minnesota today, and Minnesota, they don't have the better line, offensive or defensive. They don't have the better quarterback. They don't have the better skill position guys. What am I missing with the Minnesota side, Tony?
I mean, I don't think their skill positions are that much worse. I think that up front they're definitely worse. But if you just go line by line, Minnesota can match up pretty nicely with the skill positions, in my opinion. I mean, they're very similar, actually. You look at the guys, Jefferson and A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown's good, but Jefferson's definitely better. Jordan Addison, I think, obviously he's not as good as Devontae right now, but I think he's a stud too, Jordan Addison. You look at the running backs are similar. If anything, Minnesota might have the better running backs tonight. Obviously, Hurts is better than Cousins. I freaking hate Cousins, but it is what it is. I don't think there's that much different there. And home field, too. Like, if this was in Minnesota, I would give them more of a chance. And just being at home, it just has to be a misadvantage or disadvantage.
Yeah, I think the home field advantage is huge. Whistles, do you see anything there with any of that stuff from the offensive line, defensive line, skill position guys? How do you see that?
I mean, look, Jefferson's going to get his floor very high, okay? And, yeah, I mean, if Kirk doesn't throw any interceptions, maybe they get in the end zone a couple times. But, I mean, Hurts can go down the field, I think, quite easily. So we're going to – I mean – it could be a close, high-scoring game or a blowout. So if the Vikings can keep pace with them, who knows? Maybe if it goes really, really high-scoring, they'll be able to squeak one out. But, yeah, I really don't see we'll see. Who knows? You know what I mean? But then again, if Jefferson has one of his 215-yard games, who knows? Maybe he opens up the field for the rest of the guys, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing, too. Philly's down a bunch of defensive guys, a cornerback, a safety. They're down Kenny Gainwell, and people are putting some stock into that. I don't worry about that as much, honestly, just because of the mismatches on the D-line and O-line. In my opinion, I think if you have a strong line, that can make any secondary a little bit better just because they're getting pressure on the quarterback quicker. It helps out the secondary. They don't have to cover as long. So I don't think you should be putting as much stock into those things. And we all saw Kirk Cousins. I mean, the guy's not very mobile. They're going to get pressure up the middle on him, and that's going to spell trouble for someone like Kirk Cousins, he's not going to get to the edges and just beat you with his legs. Like, that's just not him. So he's going to struggle with teams like this who have good pressure up the middle, teams like the Cowboys, the Eagles, and anyone like that who can get pressure from all over the place like that. He's going to struggle big time. Less time to throw because they want the deep developing routes. Kirk Cousins, watch the game, like all the successful plays down, they're deep plays down the field, times where he's trying to get the ball to Jefferson in that like mid-range to deep ball. They're not like quick hitters and stuff like that. The ball to Addison where he got the touchdown, those are developing long. He needs time in the pocket. So that's why it's so big for someone like Kirk Cousins. So if you like that offense, you got to think that he's going to be able to have time in the pocket. I just don't think it's going to happen with this Philly line. So that's the way I see the game. I think that's the big disadvantage they have, and we'll see if that's the case for sure. But I also think that Hurts is going to be able to carve up the Minnesota defense. They played Baker Mayfield in the Tampa Bay Bucks and lost. This is not Baker Mayfield in the Tampa Bay Bucks this week. This is in Philadelphia against Jalen Hurts, the team that went to the Super Bowl. There is a big difference in these teams, and they are coming off playing New England, who, in my opinion, if going to New England, playing Belichick first week of the season, where he has all this time to literally just focus in on you, that's got to be one of the harder matchups, just in my opinion, in the league to go up week one against in their house. So I don't put as much stock into that game as I think some people will. And that's the big difference in me. So I think Philadelphia big this week. But let's bring it to the DFS side. And Whistles, I know you have your product that it's still not ready yet, but it's really close. And we're going to demo some of the stuff you can do with this product. So I don't know if you want to get your screen up so you can share it. And while you do that, Tony, just looking at the top here, obviously, we got to talk about Jalen Hurts. What are we doing with him at the captain spot? We got to talk about, Jefferson, A.J. Brown. There's so many studs on this slate. Do you see it as a stud captain slate tonight, or do you see it any different?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be for sure games like this where it's the studs that are up top, and then the other method will be these Philly running backs that are going to be very popular just because of the price. Swift at 4K, Penny cheap, Boston Scott if you liked him cheap. So people will go there too, I think, a little bit at the captain, especially DeAndre Swift. I could see him being one of the more popular captains after the studs. But yeah, when you got Justin Jefferson and Jalen Hurts, two absolute unicorns, they're definitely going to command a lot of ownership and a lot of captain ownership.
Yeah, I agree. Whistles, are you seeing the same thing like with your model? Is it the studs that are kind of holding a lot of those top spots like the captain and the MVP on FanDuel?
It is. And I think, if you're going to try to ship one of the big contests, the big GPP, you got to dial them back a little bit, I think. That's what models are doing too, right? Because to really climb there, it's even going to be hard with Jefferson or basically Jefferson or Hurts, right? To have them, either of them as captain and win, you'll have to hit essentially the nuts if they are the best person to put in the captain slot. I think moving down a little bit might be a good idea, just so people know again. So you guys should see my screen, right? So eat the shark.
Yeah, we got it.
You can actually, in my GPP, you will actually see my GPP ownership right now, exactly how often I am picking anybody. So you go there, you can see Flex Cousins earlier in the day, it was 54%, starting to move down. This is just the free, but if you go there, you can pay, it's like $39 a month, I think, or $49 a month. You can really just let every single person in the big GPP, and you can hit this button, it goes to the contest. That is the ownership that I'm planning. And as I run my model through the day, it changes and these numbers will change. So if you want to see anybody I'm picking in the GPP, how often I pick them as captain or whatever, go ahead and check it out. As you'll see, Jefferson, it started there. I guess my model started moving towards putting him a little bit higher, but it's there. This is quite literally what is currently in DraftKings and my actual lineup. So not like, it is not a projection. It's exactly what I'm doing. So if you want it, you can always just go to eatthesharks.com. But so that answers your question about who I'm going for. People can go see it. But we also have this tool that we're almost ready to release on both websites, RunPure and eatthesharks.com. And what it's going to provide is for these major showdown slates, starting with Thursday night, we're going to have a projection up there. We're going to call that Whistles and then select it. And what I want to do today is demo how, if I was using the tool with a particular game plan that, BigT, JSU, you guys are giving you, how you can modify the projections to play out for that game plan. So that's the idea here. So the first thing, once this tool is live, you'll be able to have this. It'll give projections for everybody. Okay. If you want to just see mine, you just, uncheck that one. You just see mine. Now what's selected? You can pick a person that you want to like focus the day game on, and it will adjust everyone's projections correlation wise to make that the game plan. So suppose you just say, you know what, it's going to be Hurts' show. Let's do that. You give him a thumbs up. He climbs from what originally I have, and this might change the actual base projections, but this was as of a couple hours ago, from 27.94 up to 33.67. And what you will also see is the other positions moving in the direction they should, given the fact that Hurts is the main guy. Now, you may say, well, why are you bumping him up by 5 points or whatever that might be? This is my proprietary way of changing the projections so that when you use the projections in the optimizers, whether you're using SaberSims or someone else's, you're going to be able to get lineups that those are the people that you should focus on. You can do it for any combination of players. So suppose you want to go a little bit against the grain. You want to say, you know what? Let's make this a real defensive struggle, okay? Hurts is still going to get his points. Cousins is going to be hurt a little bit more proportionally, at least according to my models. And if you see the Eagles will go up from like a 7 to like a 10, and wherever the Vikings are, from like a 4 up to almost a 6. So this allows you to kind of craft your game plan. You can do 3 lineups with one game plan, 2 lineups with another game plan, whatever you want. You get the numbers. Eventually, you just download them, put them into, say, again, any online optimizer you use, you'll be ready to go. So what I would like to do is I want BigT and JSU to help us craft a game plan, pick the people we should focus on, and then we'll go to SaberSim. We'll show you what the optimization is for the adjusted numbers that this tool gives you, and you'll have some lineups that you can choose to use or, see what those numbers are, put them into your system and change them around.
Yeah, beautiful. So Tony, we're going to definitely go through and give a game script, but I mean, that was perfectly said. We always talk about, if you're building 20 teams or 150, you don't have to build them all with the exact same script. And kind of what Whistle's product does is it kind of helps you like say, okay, I want 20 lineups with Philly's blowout. I want 20 lineups where Minnesota blows Philly out. I mean, I don't think anyone's building that way. I want 20 lineups, and you can build out all the game scripts in your head, scenarios that you want to attack, and focus on it, and it will give you where everything else kind of goes into place from there, from wherever your game script goes. So, I mean, I think it's perfect. It's less thinking for others, kind of letting the numbers and the software do its thing, right? Which is what you always say anyways with your projections. Put your projections in, or, let the numbers do most of the work and go from there. That's what this does, essentially. Picking a game script, though, in a way. Same idea.
Yep, I'm a firm believer in letting those numbers do the thing. Like you said, even if it's just to get you in the ballpark of maybe you move a guy here and there afterwards, it at least shows you sometimes that one of the plays is just a terrible play to you because he's just not hitting builds unless you give him a certain number. Like just say anybody, Jordan Addison or something. You want a lot of him and you're projecting him for 11 and he's just not getting that many teams. That probably means you're probably a little too high on the guy and you need to reevaluate. Can he get 14 or 15 or stuff like that? If he can, then maybe you bump him and then maybe you get more of him. If you don't think that's realistic, then maybe you should go lower on him. And with Whistle's tool, you could even like make it a little down sign. But yeah, the number should always force you in a direction. And a tool like this is always something that I think will make a big difference.
Yeah, and again, if you think, and you have to think like based on what is like the status quo, right? Like these projection numbers are like averages over thousands and thousands of simulations, right? I mean, no one's really thinking the Vikings will get exactly 4.22. Well, you can't even do that, okay? I mean, but it gives you but when you say, you know what, I really want to just totally downgrade defenses. Now, what are the numbers I should use for everyone else? Because if the defenses are below what, the line says, all the projection site says, or in the situations where that happens, well, then what's Hurts' projection? It's no longer 27.9. Now his projection should be almost 30 because the defenses were worse than people expected. And this will correlate them all together and put them all together. So I think that, ever since I've been doing shows at BigT, we've talked about this, right? Scripts with analytics. And I think this gives you the perfect opportunity. So I think let's go for it, guys. Who's going to do better than the projection? Who do we not like? We'll leave the other guys neutral. We'll get the numbers. We'll plop them into SaberSim, and let's see what it gives us.
I like it. Let's do one real quick right now. So, Tony, just looking at the projections that you have in front of you, I don't know if you have the RPS ones right now in front of you or SaberSim, but I'm sure you have one of those in front of you. Looking at one of those, who are some guys that, you would bump up and say, like, I think they're going to do a little better than their projection?
So just for the sake of the show here, I'll go lower on both studs just because, like Whistle said, starting it out, they're just, it's going to be hard to full ship with those guys up top. For one, because of their prices. I mean, their prices are very, very high. And again, I'm going to have plenty of these guys, but just for the sake of this, to see what we come up with. A little lower on them. Let's bump Swift. Let's bump Madison. Just maybe we get into a little bit heavier running from I think Philly throws for sure, but I could see Minnesota trying to beat them up a little bit on the ground. Hawkinson, I know a bunch of people in the chat are talking up Hawkinson. I agree. Irv crushed in this matchup last year. I like him. Let's bump Goddard too. He didn't even have a stat last week.
I love the tight ends. You're speaking my language right now.
Yeah, I mean, so we bumped two tight ends, we bumped 2 running backs. Go down, let's see if there's any. Is there any cheapies we can add in there just for fun? Let's bump kickers like we always do. We like it.
Okay. So let's get Jake and Greg.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see what we come up with, just for fun.
So clearly, with something like this, where you're gonna have
look at that, we got the differences in there. That's what I wanted to see. The differences in like all the spots.
Exactly. So like, if it's really gonna go this way, and
look how far down Hurts comes.
Because you're running a lot, and there's a lot of defense, and there's kicking, right? So like all these guys become so much more valuable, and you get these numbers. And if you go to an optimizer and you put Madison at 15.87 and Hurts at 18.46, still Hurts is more, but of course his salary is going to not put him in every lineup. He'd still be the highest person on the slate as far as absolute number, value a bit lower if you divide by the salary, of course, right? But if you, I don't know. If you start to drop these guys are going to start to show up a lot in their lineup. So if we want to test it, so this is one game script. Let's give another one that's a little more realistic, okay? Because I want to put in projections that like we as a group actually think are reasonable, okay? Because I mean that could happen.
Let's just bump both passing games on one and pretend that none of the running backs. Like I think a unique build tonight for sure will be to fade Philly's running backs, which everyone's going to want to play some of these running backs.
And Swift is the prices, cheap, by the way. You're right.
And they could easily.
They're all cheap. I mean, Penny's cheap. If you told me right now that JSU Penny's going to get all the early down work, he's going to get a lot of the first and second down carries, however many they do, I wouldn't be like you're dumb. I'd be like, yeah, that's very reasonable to happen because I honestly think it could happen. I honestly think he was inactive last week, maybe because they were planning on, they knew they were playing on a short week, Thursday Night Football, and he has injury history. He's been injured like every year for the last like 4 years. I mean, makes sense. Like, let's give this guy, this game off, and then we can give someone else a game off, and whoever gets the most work, that'd be Gamewell or rib injury. And then, we can have Penny hold the share with Swift as like the secondary guy. So I wouldn't be shocked with any of these guys. Boston Scott getting some work too. Like nothing would shock me with Philadelphia. We just saw it with CEH, the Chiefs game, right? That was the first showdown game of the year. No one was talking about CEH. Who came in on the first fucking play of the game? It was friggin' CEH. And I'm just like, of course Andy Reid would do this. Now, he didn't end up like being someone you needed, but it was just the fact he played more than anyone had projected in the industry. No one had him projected to walk out on that field first. I think even to get as much work as he did, no one had him projected like that. So those are the things you got to be careful of with these first couple games. And, I think people are going to just try and play running back roulette with the Eagles for sure.
Okay. So let's All right. I mean, I'm happy doing what we did before.
No, but just bump down those 3 Eagles running backs.
Okay, so let's go
So
down.
yeah, bump them down, bump up the passing game
And then,
for
the passing
Who else do
game.
we have here? Scott.
I think this is definitely a realistic route for what I could do tonight is because everyone's going to play the roulette, like JSU just said. And let's be honest, it could definitely happen where they all get like between 5 and 8 points or something, and the passing game crushes, and all that ownership goes down the toilet.
All right. So let's see what happens. Okay. I mean, let's see. So if you just use SaberSim, so again, I don't really use SaberSim for this. So let's start some just builds. Okay. Let's just say we use base SaberSim projections, optimizer. Let's just build 3 lineups. Is that good?
Yep.
Min uniques 3. Does that mean like what does min uniques mean?
It just means different guys in your lineup. So,
I
like
see.
if
So
you had 2 teams, you would have at least 3 dudes different in those 2 teams type
So that's
thing.
fine. Let's do that. Obviously, we have to. I know you have to change these like ever so slightly all the time. All right, fine. I mean, all right. So that's good, right? Let's just see what it comes out with. All right. So it's obviously building. Okay. So this would be, you're just using SaberSim. You're just trying to get an understanding of where to go. Swift, as we said, is going to be so cheap. He's fourth. Like he's going to show up on a bunch of lineups. I'd be surprised if he didn't show up on this one too. Yeah. So he's there, and he's probably here too. Yeah. So
Penny in there too. Like they're both
right. Like you guys were saying. Yeah.
They're going to be so high owned. They're going to be even more high owned than people think. Like everyone is going to play these guys.
Right. So now I have to. So I will make it so that we can just like upload immediately into SaberSim. That stuff is not quite ready yet. So now what I'll do is I'll build. So this is build 4. So we'll just. Can you like rename it? Okay, awesome. So base opt. This is how you know I really do just optimize everything on my own. I've never used these online optimizers till right now. Now let's go rename. We'll call it.
You're navigating around pretty good for not ever seen it though.
Well, I am a computer scientist of sorts. So anyway, flex. Okay, so Hertz. So it's going to take me just a little bit to put these numbers in. Why don't we? I'll stop sharing. I'm just going to put the numbers in as they are. It's just going to take.
We can talk about a few positions while you're doing it.
Yeah. So Tony, let's go back. We'll bounce back ideas with the passing game. We had Whistles talk up the pass. Let's talk about the passing game a little bit since we're going to be doing a script with a big passing game presence for these 2 teams. And let's talk about it here. There's a lot of different weapons on all of these teams. And, obviously Philadelphia's got Brown, Devonta Smith. You got Justin Jefferson on the other side. They're all, somewhat expensive. And then you got like the mid-tier options, the tight ends. We kind of said it. We're both pretty high on both tight ends. I love Hawk. I think one of the game plans, if you are on the Minnesota side, you got to think TJ Hawkinson is a big part because I said it, those long developing routes. If you just try, if you go in against someone like Philadelphia and you just think you're going to be able to sit back there every single down when you throw and just be able to develop those things, they're not going to happen. You need to be able to hit them short, run a little bit, hit them short, and then the play action pass where you get that long developing route down the field. So I think TJ Hawkinson, and I actually think Alexander Mattison as a pass catcher. You watch Bill Belichick, they use those running backs as pass catchers, and they almost got him a few times on screen plays. They got one to Ramondre, I think, one time that was a big game. They almost got one to Zeke where he caught it, but he fumbled. It was a really good play by the lineman. But I think they are susceptible to screen passes, so I think Mattison could be used heavy there. And then on the other side, Dallas Goedert coming off a bad game. I think he is more involved in this game as well. So what are we doing with the passing games, Big T?
Yeah, I feel good about the passing games. A lot of the things you said where the tight ends are definitely, as of right now, obviously the day changes a lot as we go. And we'll have a lot of our final thoughts on that 7 p.m. show tonight. But I just feel good about these tight ends, especially the receivers. The good thing about the receivers from Minnesota, they only played 3 guys last week, which in this day and age is very nice to not have to worry about them alternating 4 or 5 guys in. I mean, they literally played the whole game from what I saw. I'm not the exact numbers. I haven't pulled them up, but I didn't see.
Who are you talking about, Tony? Because I'll give you the exact numbers.
Minnesota. They only played 3 receivers, I think, but I could be wrong.
So yeah, they played. Who was the other guy? Minnesota. I know Justin Jefferson obviously played a crap ton. KJ Osborne played the third. I think it was KJ Osborne and Addison played about like 60 to 70%, somewhere in that range. I'll get the exact numbers up, but yeah, it was mainly them. Josh
I don't
Oliver,
think anyone else
got
even
some
played
run.
though.
Josh Oliver, I think, got some run, but that's not technically a wide receiver, right? It's a tight end.
Yeah, that's a tight end.
Yeah, so mainly 3 guys. Yep.
Yeah, and then you throw in Hawk, and I mean, you just have a clear route tree. And I don't love Cousins usually, but like I said, you got a lot of guys out on defense. We got a 49.5 total. You got a clear route tree. Even when you throw in, like JSU said, Madison into the mix, and I would put Ty Chandler in the mix too, just because of game script. So all of a sudden, we have a script where we can fade the Philly running backs who are going to be very chalky, and we throw in maybe the Minnesota running backs into our script with pass catchers, where I think you got, what is that, 6 or 7 guys that you can play with Kirk, where all of a sudden you have a nice little distribution there. And then you go to the Philly side, and I mean, you have clear guys there too. I mean, they're going to play, obviously, always AJ and Devontae, but Quez Watkins is clearly the 3. And maybe that Zacchaeus gets a tiny bit of run, but you have a clear route tree there. And then the tight ends, I mean, Hawkinson to me is like the best play in the game. Last year, like I said, Irv crushed. And last week, Hunter Henry went 5 for 56 and a touchdown against this team. They got the middle linebacker out. Again, I'm not good with defensive names, but they got the middle linebacker out, some secondary guys out. I wouldn't be surprised if Hawk goes 10 for $120 and 2 tonight. So he's definitely one of my favorite guys. And Goddard coming off no stats, squeaky wheel a little bit. I could see him going off. So I love the tight ends. And then you go to the cheaper tight ends even. I mean, how many times have we seen it? All these showdown shows. These guys, you never know when they pop and catch one. Josh Oliver's 800. Stahl, who's these other bums? Calcantara, Mund. I'm not saying to play a lot of these guys, but you could play 2% Johnny Mund. And the dude, it just happened every showdown last year. And it doesn't matter every slate, but when you have massive price tags like Jefferson and Hurts, one little 9-point game from freaking Johnny Munt could ship the whole showdown slate for $1 million tonight.
Yeah, I like Hawkinson too, because like there will be short passes that are going to be required, right? And so maybe that's where they go. I don't know,
That has to be the game plan. It has to be. If you watch that, and this is why I love that people take a lot from it. If you watch Bill Belichick, who is one of the best game planning coaches in all of football, they always if you give him time to prepare, more time than usual to prepare, he normally has his team right to be in the game. And if you watch the two teams, there's no way from a talent perspective they should have been in that game, but they were, and they actually had a chance to win that game too. It wasn't just like they were hanging around. No, they could have won that game at the end. A few things go their way, and they're winning that game against the Eagles. And then I think way more people would even be on Minnesota. But my point is, when you watch what he did, he was just so the game plan was perfectly. That is how you do it against a team like the Eagles, where it's not as much those deep routes, but more that intermediate and short game. And he really did a good job of executing or getting his players in the right position to execute. And I think if Minnesota can almost try and mimic that, then they'll have a chance. The problem is I just don't think they're going to be able to do it, because so much of their offense is predicated off of those deep plays. And those are the plays that, you want to do it very, very minimally against a team like the Eagles, in my opinion. Even though they're down a corner and a safety, I wouldn't put as much stock into that. So it means TJ, Madison, I think, need to have big presences in the passing game. And if that happens, and you see that happening early, that's going to be a good sign for the Eagles. Minnesota. Whistles, you got your screen ready?
Yeah, so I haven't hit build yet, but here are the projections. I just put the numbers in. Okay, whatever they were. We're going to do exactly the same thing. Three uniques, build lineups. Okay, so we'll just compare what the lineups tell you. This is exactly the numbers from the from the so there goes a Quez lineup, like we were saying before. Like I think literally you were just Goddard, so you're getting that's an interesting lineup right there. I think
That's a lineup that could win for sure in a Philly
that's a
blowout.
great lineup. I think
Yeah.
Hurts runs for a touchdown. Yeah, he throws. Obviously they're commanding the game. He's throwing. Well, actually, this is probably got to be a throw lineup. But anyway, then you have this one where you have. I don't know. Ham gets a couple touches there. He's cheap. He goes up a little bit. And there's the penny play with Brown and Hurts still. If it's really a blowout game, I mean, if it's a lot of points, I think it makes sense to put Hurts as captain. I mean, if you can put rules, I assume, in these optimizers to say cut out all three captains. But based on this script, I think these are good lineups. It's still going Eagles heavy because the Eagles should win regardless, right? Whoever it's picking for the Vikings are, just people that would make sense for it, Anyway. And so you compare them with the base opt and, maybe you say, all right, that's fine, but I still want to have a little bit more on person XYZ or whatever. So you can do it. It's not telling you have to necessarily use exactly these numbers, but it's giving you a place to start and then you can adjust. And I think JSU, you were right. Like maybe you want to put 3 lineups up with this game script. Then you go back, you say it's a big rushing game, put 3 lineups there and, you're kind of spread around and you're hedging the different lineups.
Yeah, you kind of have different outs, right? Right, Whistles, which this tool is perfect for. You want to have multiple outs. You don't want to be all in on one game script. You don't want to be all in on Jalen Hurts and blowout. You know what I mean? Like Eagles score 40 and Minnesota scores 10, and it's just a Jalen Hurts blowout, right? You want to have like 25% Jalen Hurts blowout because you think it's still one of the higher probabilities, but you don't want to be all in on it. So you take like 25 to 30%. And then maybe you allocate, all the other ones a different percentage and you go from there, right?
Yep. And I think if you want to have the best chances of winning a very large GPP like the millionaire today, don't put Hurts as your captain, right? I mean, there's going to be, it's hard for me to even guess what the percentage of ownership, but it's going to be a lot. So I think you're really looking to, pick a crazier game script, but then pick really good lineups for that crazier game script. And once this tool is live, that'll allow you to do that because maybe your crazy game script is that the Vikings just, I don't know, Kirk Cousins and Hawkinson are just like the people to do, right? And Hurts will have a little bump because it's going to be a big passing game, but it'll show you what you should do for everybody else. So anyway, that's the tool. And I can't wait to get it in front of everyone's eyes. We all want feedback, right? I mean, this is a run pure plus eat the sharks thing here, right? We really want people to tell us how they like it. So
yeah. So when it goes live, everyone, hopefully soon when it goes live, you'll be able to use it. Whistles. It'll be what? So how much is it? What are you guys going to do to start? Did you talk about that yet? I just want to make sure.
So free for a couple weeks. Let's just get feedback, see how people love it, and then we're going to price it. Not going to be too crazy high. Because it's going to be specific to Showdowns, but a good price, something that makes sense, right?
And perfect. So for the first few weeks, it's going to be free, so you'll be able to test it out, tell us what you like, what you don't, or tell Whistles what you like, what you don't like, and obviously if you send a message to me or Tony, we can get it in front of Whistles as well. But same idea. We want to know your feedback from it. Tell us what it is you like, and if you have questions during this show, hit us up in the chat and we'll answer them as we go. But Tony, anything else with you before we move forward here?
No, I'm excited to get to work with it too. Just because, like you guys said, you can do it a lot of different paths. That's what I like to do anyways, especially a game like tonight. I think it's smart to go different directions. Right. Even though I think Philly is going to win with you guys, I still want some builds where it's a total shootout where these receivers – I really like that build we put in there with all the receivers, fade the Philly running backs. I want that on some, but I don't want it on all because those guys are cheap. And when they house one and when they catch 5 or 6 balls, stuff like that, they're going to be on the winner. So you need different paths in Showdown, and I love it. I can't wait to start using it and getting feedback. Maybe someone realizes something we haven't even thought about, and we can make that adjustment to it too.
For sure. Want to make it useful for everyone.
All right. So everyone who's still watching this video, obviously hit the like button as it's a free show. We will have a show going up to lock with Wiley and JBC. So if you're not a member, NFL 17. Tony, I know this code's going away at some point, but it's still the promo code. So if you want 17% off for life, use that code now. Get in because it'll be going away soon, and be able to watch those guys up to lock, talk through their process, and see who JBC's been on. He's been hot in the betting streak. So make sure you check out the bet side as well. I saw a lot of bets winners, Tony. We've been running hot. My guy Stats, my guy JBC, they've been killing it with soccer bets. I mean, it's not just football either. It's soccer bets, baseball bets, pitching props. I know Stats has been firing with those pitcher props, giving us his favorite pitcher prop every morning, sending that in the bets channel. So if you're in the Discord and you're on the bet side, we have now added premium plays. So premium plays are pretty much Tony, JBC, and Stats. Their combined consensus of like 5 plays each day. They're not always like one sport. They could be all baseball one day. They could be some baseball, some football. Obviously tonight there'll be football plays in it, I'm sure. But like they switch it up. On Saturdays there's some MMA and college football, and you'll see it. Those are pretty much their consensus 5 favorite plays throughout those 3 guys. And then you'll have the other channel, which is the picks channel, where they'll also put the rest of their plays, and everyone else can, all the other coordinators can put their favorite plays as well. So that is the channel. If you go on the Discord and you have the bet side, those are the 2 channels. Make sure you have the alerts on for those 2 channels so you get an alert every single time those guys place their bets or post their bets on there. And Tony, I think the premium plays, people have been liking them, honestly.
Yeah, they definitely like it narrowed down a little bit. And yeah, I mean, everyone likes action, especially nights like tonight. So I'm not sure who we're going to be on yet. Make sure you get in there and see those plays for tonight, without a doubt.
Love it. All right, let's keep going with the showdown. So we kind of talked about the passing game. We talked a little bit about the running game too, Tony. I want to talk about this mid-tier, though, section. Like after the tight ends, you get into like, you got the defenses, you got the kickers, you got the KJ Osborne and Quez Watkins and Ty Chandler, those type of plays. As you get like mid-tier and down, you're going to have to play some of these guys because there's just so many good studs that you're going to need some cheaper and mid-tier guys to fill out your roster. What are you looking at as you kind of get into that mid-tier?
Yeah, and I do think the mid-range does get pinched just a little bit, just because, like I said, everyone's going to want 2 or 3 studs. Everyone's going to play 1 or 2 Philly running backs. And it just pushes you into the mid-range, but only for like one piece. So if you have a build where you play a couple mid-range pieces, I think you're instantly different than the field, just because just the natural build is going to be one of these guys. And honestly, I like a lot of the mid-range. I do. I mean, Madison, JSU brings up a bunch of good points about him. He could catch some balls. I don't think he'll have much success on the ground, but he could get touchdowns. He's got touchdown equity. He's got catch equity. Maybe he breaks one. I mean, I think he gets a lot of volume, which is good. Again, I don't think he'll be very successful running, but who knows? It's a volume game. Jordan Addison, I talked about him on Sunday. I think he's super talented. I think he's way more talented than Osborne, but Osborne's going to be on the field more, which obviously you got to be on the field to get fantasy points. So Osborne's in play. I love that they only have 3 receivers that see the field, because you don't have to worry about some of these other guys coming in. I say that, and now some other random dude's going to vulture tonight. But I like the volume of those 3 guys. Goddard, like I said, no stats last week. Like it. Eagles D, I think, is who I'll be lowest on tonight. Even though I'm with you guys with Eagles, they got guys out, and they got a tough assignment tonight. Let's face it. I mean, this Minnesota has a bunch of weapons, and Philly's going to be overowned. Everyone's talked about Kirk Cousins. Everyone saw Dallas on Monday night, or whatever night they played. Was it Monday? Monday or Sunday night, whatever it was.
Sunday.
Everyone saw that. They went for 30. Everyone's going to want to play some Philly D, which they might end up being 25% owned or something at 4,400. I might even full fade the Eagles D, honestly, because I just don't see the value in playing a defense that high. And then the kickers, I don't know. I'm not as high on kickers tonight just because of the value of other guys. But I like the value of the mid-range guys the most. Hawk, Addison, Goddard, Osborne, Swift. If you thought, obviously Swift's going to be mega chalk, but I like those mid-range guys.
Swift could honestly keep the defense from being like crazy chalky, like just because of
I
the
just think
price
a
points of
lot
the
play
running
them both
backs.
together though, because it's a natural correlation. Like with one
No, it
running
is.
back,
I'm just saying. I just because he's definitely going to be very popular. Swift. The one thing I will say is I'm definitely lower on kickers with you on this slate. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Elliott, just because I think they'll be in the red zone and in the area to score a little bit more than Minnesota. And I think if Philly gets up, it's going to put pressure on Minnesota to maybe go for it a little bit more on fourth downs, fourth and shorts and stuff. Be a little more aggressive, knowing they're playing a team that just went to the Super Bowl last year and clearly a juggernaut team at home. So I could see them getting a little more aggressive in this type of spot in prime time. But Whistles, do you see like the mid tier? Does anything stick out to you big time in that mid tier?
So let's break it up. Okay, top would be Hurts, Jefferson, Brown, Cousins, and Smith. Okay, I right now, honestly, those three receivers are going to be basically even for me, and also the quarterbacks are going to be fairly even, just to get a little bit more on the Viking side, just to get some ownership leverage. Okay, now let's go to like the upper mid tier, which is probably Madison, Hawkinson, Swift, Goddard, and Addison. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty even across my ownership on all those. And then we'll go to the lower mid tier, if you will, which I guess would be Osborne, Elliott, Eagles, and Greg Joseph. And like, yeah, I mean, right now, I as opposed to what Big T says, it wants a little bit more Eagles than the rest of the guys, but not that much. So I'm getting really flat in each one of those segments. So yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have to pick a couple guys from the super top, one from the middle low, one from the bottom low, and fill them in. So I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a tough slate to get super differentiated. So pick a game script that's a little bit crazier and fill a couple lineups. Pick another crazy one, fill a couple lineups, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, for sure. Going down into the cheap section for me too in the mid tier. Like I think if you're looking at someone, I think KJ Osborne kind of sticks out. He didn't really do much last game. He did get 6 targets, but didn't really do much with them. And people saw the Addison touchdown, so it's just natural. Like, and Addison's like the younger guy. He's a little cheaper than Osborne. I think all those things will kind of. Oh, I'm sorry, he's a little more expensive than Osborne. What am I saying? But the projection's probably going to be a little better on Addison. Everyone saw what he did last week 1, where he caught that bomb. And I could see KJ catching one, and KJ's cheap enough to where I could take a shot on him. As you get into the cheap range, though, you got the obvious guys like Penny, like the running backs for Philly. I do think Ty Chandler is interesting as well, especially in Philly blows them out type scripts, because maybe if Philly blows them out, Ty Chandler gets a little more reps on the field later. And he's another guy who I think could have some work, catching the ball a little bit at the end of the game. So he's someone that I'm probably going to be a little higher on when we talk about guys we're going to bump the projections on a little bit. Well, if you see blow up, Ty Chandler might be on the field a little bit more, maybe a little less for Addison. And there's something where I'm not 100% sure on Whistle's tool if it would bump someone like Ty Chandler. I'm just guessing in my head it would probably bump someone like Ty Chandler if we clicked Philly blowout. So that's something that sticks out for those type of game scripts. Tony, you see anything else that kind of sticks out in the cheap range? I know you talked about taking some chances on some guys like Mud, and honestly, like on a short week, I could see guys that didn't really play that come out of nowhere and play a little bit, just because it is a short week between when they last played both these teams. So I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota used a 4th receiver or another tight end in their game plan a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the cheaper guys that I think have the best leverage for sure, Ty Chandler and Josh Oliver, just because of similar stuff you just said, where again, these backup tight ends, second string tight ends have done damage in showdowns the last few years. Josh Oliver has shown some talent at times. He's 800. And again, just if you play Ty Chandler and Oliver, they fit every type of game script too, because if it stays close, short week, they could still get extra work. If it's a blowout, I think they definitely get more work. And there's still a path where Ty Chandler just steals work from Madison anyways, where he's a younger guy, super talented out of college. I think he's more talented than Madison, just as far as pure talent, fresh legs, all of that, short week. There's a lot of things working for that Ty Chandler play. And he's slightly cheaper than Penny and Boston Scott, which is nice in Showdown because you're just going to get a little bit different there, just a little bit. Even if you build your best Penny teams and Scott teams and pivot those to Ty Chandler, save a little bit of extra salary and stuff like that. CJ Ham, I mean, we've seen him catch a touchdown here and there, but I don't like him as much as Chandler and Oliver. He just doesn't have as many outs. Like, it's got to be the 1 yard line and he gets a dive or catches a play action touchdown type thing, which could happen. He's only 400. I'll have like a couple percent CJ Ham just because of that in my 150. But I really like Ty Chandler. And the more I look at the slate, Quez Watkins too is always a good Showdown play because when he does something, it's a house usually, like a 50-yard house call. And that's what we like in Showdown. He's not going to get any volume, but when he houses, it could break the slate. And he's in that same range as Swift, Penny, Scott, where I'm going to keep talking about it, but those are the leverage points. Everyone's going to want Philly running backs because of how cheap they are, which makes all of these other guys, and I'll even say it, like Vikings D. I like Vikings D a little more than Eagles D tonight, as crazy as that sounds, just because of the leverage of it, where all it takes is Hurts fumbling to the house or throwing a bad pick to the house, and you fall into that nut script that we always talk about in Showdown, where Whistles talked about it last year with Taysom and Dallas D or whatever it was now, so something like that. Tonight, I could see it where the Vikings D, just as far as my personal numbers, running them in SaberSim, the first build I popped up actually was a Hurts captain, where the Vikings D was one of my flex plays on my dead optimal with my numbers. So,
yeah, I mean,
it just gets you different.
I mean, the Vikings are, as far as like, you could set a floor to like 5 or 4 projection, and they'd be at that bottom floor, right? So like, they will be, 3,200. There's a lot of space if you use the Vikings defense. I agree with you.
Yep.
Yeah, and for those people wondering, I saw Boss Bro said Madison been split in carries, ? So just from a snaps perspective, 73% of the snaps went to Alexander Madison, 17% went to Ty Chandler. But remember, that's on week 1. They played on Sunday. They had all the time to prepare. I think most weeks that'll be the case. But on a short week where they just played on Sunday and they got to play again, this is when you can see running backs the backups especially get a little bit more work just off of the short week. So that's all I'm saying, I think. And then on top of it, if you think it's a blowout, that'll obviously help the backup guys too. But I think just in general, that short week can easily help him play a little bit more. And yes, Myles Gaskin activated. Tony, what do you think of that? Mr. Gaskin's back in our lives.
Yeah, I'm wondering why it doesn't have an S on the end of it.
I mean, it should. RRNR investments. You don't know how to actually spell it.
JSU for so long. He just randomly adds S's to the end of names and stuff. He's like my mom. Like my mom comes in town, it's always Joe Burrows and Tom Brady's, and there's always an S on the end of every name with my mom.
I'll tell you right now, your mom's a sharp lady. I love your mom. We've hung out multiple times, and she is a delight. So, yeah, sharp lady. I will just say that. So,
I mean, as far as the actual question about him, though, I mean, it's Showdown. Anything can happen. Short week. I mean, maybe he gets some of the work. Like, as long as he's active, I'll have some of him just because he's 200. And you just never know in a Showdown format with these price points where, again, I want the studs. Everyone wants Hurts, Jefferson, and I want either AJ or Devontae for sure. So if you're playing 3 studs, I mean, you're just going to have to take chances down low. And to Whistle's point, I mean, it's $1 million up top tonight. Take some chances down low. And you know what? If you get a 0 from a guy that's 200, so freaking what? You're still going to have the studs in there. It's not going to cost you cashing or something. But if you're somehow right and one of these guys just nukes for, by nuke, I mean like 10 points, you're just massive. All they have to do is outscore the other jabronis down there in the cheap range.
Love it. You got to outscore other jabronis in the cheap range. That's it. That's all you got to do.
All you got to do.
Whistles, that's it. You just got to outscore the jabronis in the cheap range.
Yeah.
It's a simple game.
That's it. All right. Going to try maybe a nailer dart. It's another guy. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they used him a little bit, but those are things you can think about.
God, that guy's the worst player ever. Like,
I think he's their fourth receiver, Tony, if I remember
he's been
correctly.
so bad his whole career. Like, God, he's been bad. Wasn't he the guy that got picked over Jefferson? Like, come on, Philly.
Oh, Jalen Naylor. Not Josh. Jalen Naylor. That's who it was.
He got picked over Jefferson. Like, come on.
Did he? By who?
By Philly. Now he plays with Jefferson, but Philly picked him over. I'm almost positive. The chat can make fun of me, but I'm almost positive he got picked over Jefferson in the draft.
Big C likes jabronis.
I agree, Big C.
All right. Again, guys, make sure you hit that like button. Got almost 400 watching, 92 likes. Let's get that up a little bit. Jalen Reagor is another pick. That was another primo pick right there.
That was probably who I was talking about, actually. That was who I was talking about.
Definitely who you were talking about, Jalen Reagor. I mean,
I told you the chat would make fun of me. I was in the neighborhood.
What a swing and miss. I mean, you got the first name right. You got the first name right, though, so that's pretty good.
Damn it.
That's all right. It happens to the best of us, Tony. So, okay.
Anyway, by the way, I'm going to be at the game, guys. DraftKings has a DraftKings field house right on the field in the end zone on the visitors side, from what I understand. Team will be on the left. I think we're going to be right. So I'll be right in the right corner of the end zone. If anyone can send a picture of me there on TV, I'll send them a free T-shirt. First person to do it. So take a snap, put it on there. All right.
Boom. There you go. Take a snap, whistles, put it on Twitter. And,
Twitter,
and you'll get and you'll get a free T-shirt. All right. So make sure you at Whistles Go on Twitter,
so you guys can find me. All right.
There you go. Bumster says hashtag how rich. That's how Whistles does it. And I think Whistles is a Vikings fan, if I remember correctly.
I am a Vikings fan. Yeah, I don't know why, but
all right. So Jefferson and the captain will be optimal from what Whistles is fandom wants to say.
Right. I hope. Yeah.
All right. Let's do this, guys. Let's get our favorite plays, play of the day, each of us, and maybe we can make a core out of it, right, Big T? Let's make a show core for the people here. Obviously, if you want Big T's full cores, player pool, him, JBC, myself, all the other guys, AP, I know shipped last Showdown slate for like $13K. You want all that stuff, go to Run Pure Sports. Check us out. Promo code NFL17 gets you 17% off for life of your subscription. As long as you don't unsubscribe, you keep that 17% off as you go into NBA season and again into MLB and golf or whatever else. We'll have you covered. One sport, all sports, one price, 17% off. Use it. But Tony, what are you fucking laughing at?
Chat's making fun of me. I just read a few of them. I knew I was going to put. That's what happens when all my shows are off my head. Like, I don't have anything up on my screen like that. Everything's just off my memory. People don't think I do it that way, but I do. So sometimes I jack up and get made fun of. But
you definitely do it all the time. That's how you do it. But
I admitted it when I said it. I said I could be wrong.
You're always off the cuff. I don't even know if people know this about you, but you're just like when you start a show, you're always like off the cuff.
I hadn't even looked at the pricing before we came on. I like to do it that way.
Yeah, he likes to have it like just like as he's doing the show, it's like fresh, like new. As he's doing the show. It's pretty impressive. He doesn't look at anything before. Like if I called him at like one Whistles, he would have no idea. Like he might not. Well, I know he knows who was playing. That's I'm going a little far if I said that, but he had no idea like any pricing or anything like that before we go on this slate. Like, did you know?
I definitely didn't know Swift was this cheap when we started this show.
Yeah, there's no chance. Like,
so it just shows you how like things change too. It's why I like doing it because I loved Swift all morning, and I'm like, man, I'm going to get Swift somewhat low owned tonight, thinking he was probably 8K or something when I pull it up, and then when I look, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can play Swift now.
Yep, there you go. That's how your mind works, though.
Come on, Sterling. This is not true. I'm the third luckiest person on the screen right now, actually. Get out of here.
A third luckiest?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Whistles. He's not the luckiest. He's definitely the smartest. I'm probably the luckiest. Yeah, Whistles is definitely the smartest.
Whistles is the smartest and the luckiest. He gets both.
Tony's probably the in between. Tony's the in between of like the smart.
No,
and the
I'm in
lucky.
third place on everything on this panel. Talent, luck, knowledge.
Talent.
Yeah,
You're a
everything.
way
I'm
better
third
golf
best.
player than me, and I
Oh,
would
no,
assume Whistles.
Definitely
playing
better
golf
than you
with you.
two.
I'm horrible, so that you've got me on.
Golf and
Tony-
cornhole are the only two things I'm better than you two at.
You know, Whistle, speaking of cornhole, so I had this cornhole event for my friend who his son tragically passed away a few years ago. Really sad stuff, but we do like a fundraiser for him as cornhole. And I've tried to get Big T to come down and be my cornhole partner so we could beat every single person, because I got owned by an older aunt and uncle. Me and my wife did last year. So I told him he needed to come down. He didn't even come down this year. I tried to get him to come down. I'm gonna have to offer him a damn contract or something to get him to come down.
You know, Big T's wife won the DraftKings cornhole championship last year. Who was on her team? I forgot.
Oh, Whistles! You just gave me an idea. Screw you, Tony. I'm just gonna offer her a contract to come down.
She'll come.
I'll tell her I'll buy her black tea for however long she wants. I'll pay for her black teas. I got you, Amber. Don't worry. And we'll add whatever you.
This is also correct, Bart. Third in luck, first in workbench. Yes, I do get
first in workbench.
Yep, I got them edged out in there.
I don't know about the workbench. I don't know if you got me edged out in the workbench department. I'll just say that you have kids, so like maybe, but I don't know. I'll just throw it out there, but maybe you do. I don't know, but either way, what do you want? Better to be lucky than good, boss bro. I agree with you 100%.
I would take luck over good any day of the week.
Yeah. Anyone? So
give me all the luck.
Anyone who tells me I'm lucky, I just go with it. I'm like, yep, I'm lucky. I love it. I'm fine with it. So I'm in. But all right, let's do it. Let's do a favorite play from each of us. Let's get a little show chord going. Tony, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, and I also have a sneaky, because you never let me talk about FanDuel. Even Whistles, this is how good this guy is. He wins $50K last Thursday, 1 week ago today, on FanDuel, and then he just refuses to ever talk about it on any show. That's how rich he is. Like, you just never get a chance to talk about it.
This is untrue, but it also reminds me that I will be giving, along with Matthew Wiley, we will both be giving 555 tickets on the Wood Show this Sunday. 2 555 tickets for the Millionaire contest that's on DraftKings this week. We'll be giving away. So all you have to do, honestly, is be a member. So we're going to give them away during the Wood Show on Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. That show will go live. And we'll, get in the live show chat if you're a member in the Discord. So if you do sign up and use that code NFL17, make sure you also get in the Discord, so then you can be a part of that giveaway, because you got to be in there, because we're going to give it to a member. So if you're a member, Sunday, make sure you stay tuned for the Wood Show, and we'll be giving those away to lucky members, Tony. 2 lucky members will get 555 tickets, probably for something silly like just saying hi to me or Wiley or something like that. So, or being a dick to me. I don't know. Sometimes I like it when people shit on me. So we'll see what kind of mood I'm in. But all right, talk about FanDuel.
No, I mean, I'll give my play of the day too. So I think my play of the day, my 2 favorite guys are Hawkinson and Devontae. Those are like, because I agree with Whistles. You need to get off those top 2 in the captain. So I still want upside though. Those are my 2, but people love these takes. What's FanDuel tonight? A $9, I think $9. How much for first?
$200K.
So I got to play on FanDuel just for the people that are entering like 2 entries, like we always talk about. And it's a crazy play, but people like stuff like this where I think it fits the build tonight better than it ever possibly could to give you a chance off $9 to ship something huge. You start your teams with Jefferson, Hurts, one of the receivers, AJ or Devontae. So you're going to fade Kirk Cousins, which naturally, what if he gets hurt? What if Philly beats him up? These backup quarterbacks on Philly are 5K like they always are. So it fits perfectly with the build tonight. And Cousins easily in prime time could suck. He could get injured. There's so many things that could happen. Yeah, it probably won't happen, but it's $9 to win a lot. And the good thing is, if you go in here on FanDuel, let me pull it up real quick because I'll say the exact pricing. If you play Hurts, Jefferson, and A.J. Brown, that leaves you with only $67.50 for your last two spots. So just say you want to play a guy like, just say Swift, because everyone likes Swift. He's 8,500. That leaves you with only 5K left. So you got both stud receivers, Hurts, and the best play of the value play of the night in Swift. You only got 5K left. No one's going to play that build. It probably won't happen, but you know what? If the studs go off and you get 0 from a 5K guy, so what? You're still going to cash because your studs went off. And you know what? When Cousins gets hurt like Rodgers did, you're going to have a chance to win 200K off your $9. So it's just a little touch. Don't go crazy with it though. Don't play like 10% in your 150 or just sprinkle it in there. Just a little. If you're playing 2 or 3 teams, just sprinkle a little backup in there.
And I'll just say, I live in Connecticut, and in Connecticut, you can play on FanDuel Sportsbook, but you cannot play DFS. So I'm not.
What about when you get to that game tonight?
I know I can do it tonight, but then I got to get all the code ready as a pain for me to do the whole thing. So maybe I'll throw 1 or 2 lineups in FanDuel. We'll see.
There you go. 2 lineups. Play the backup on. What if you ship just based on that on one of them?
So wait, I got lost a little bit. So which backup are we playing?
The only quarterback that could get pulled.
Okay.
Cousins. Yeah. So
it would be tilting though if Hurts was the one that got hurt and his backup came in and crushed.
I was going to say, like, what if the opposite happens and Hurts gets hurt?
So I will say on DraftKings at least, I think a Swift captain is the play that frees up and gets you the most big names with a very reasonable captain. So yeah, you need him to be scoring, which is a little tough on that team. I get it. But I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, for me, it's tight end season. I like both tight ends, Goddard and Hawkinson, so I'll just give both of them out as plays. I think they both could get in the end zone too, so you can play that. I'm going to be heavy on both those guys, though, so I like those plays for sure. And, yeah, I mean, don't forget about some of the sneaky plays. Tony gave out a nice little sneaky one. I think Ty Chandler could be sneaky. Whistles like Swift in the captain. So those are kind of the show plays of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to go over to Whistles.
With that show build, too. If you played Swift in the captain, you could play Devontae, Hawk, and Goddard. Even if you play Hurts with that, you still got 11K for your last spot. So you could play
exactly
Brown, Cousins, Madison.
Your floor at captain shoots way up with so much left. So think about a Swift captain lineup. All right, guys.
All right, there you go. Perfect. Yeah. Tony, anything else for the people?
No, we got it done. Hour and 8 minutes. We're in good shape.
All right, eatthesharks.com. You can also check out Whistle stuff soon over at Rumpier Sports as well. Once it gets ready to go, we'll have it free for a few weeks so you guys can check out the product, give feedback on it. Don't forget to take a picture of Whistles during the game today. Send them a tweet. Get a free Whistle shirt. The first one that does it gets a free Whistle shirt. And don't forget to use that code NFL17. Get 17% off for life of your subscription as long as you don't unsubscribe. And for that, we're going to get out of here. For Big T, Whistles,
Skull,
and I'm JSU. Good luck tonight in your contest. We'll see you guys on Sunday. We're out of here. Don't forget about the Up the Lock later tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Wiley and JBC go live. Peace.